Okay, now let's look at the multiple comparison procedure. So we have three populations, and let's look at the sample proportions and the sample size of these three from here where we started out with. So we have sample proportion will be number of S's divided by the sample size. So that will give us the proportion. That is our P sub 1, P bar sub 1, sample proportion for Chevy. Now you copy that. Okay. Make that into a percentage. Now sample size is the number of observations made for each population. Okay. So now we have three comparisons. When you have three populations, we'll have three comparisons. So Chevy and Ford, Chevy and Honda, and then Ford and Honda. Remember, if we have four populations, there will be six comparisons. So the first population with the remaining three, so that will be three comparisons. And then the second population with the other two, so that will be 3 plus 2, 5. And then the third with the fourth will be 6. Okay, so similarly, when you have five populations, then we'll end up with 10 combinations. But here we have three. So let's set up the P bar values. So these are P bar values. Let's first assemble the P bar sub I and P bar sub j and N sub I and N sub j. Okay, so this is Chevy first, and with Ford, okay, and then Chevy again with Honda, and then Ford, and then Honda. Okay. Now we need the absolute value of the difference, P sub I minus P sub j. So this is the absolute value of the difference, and we have to compare that absolute value of the difference with the critical value. So for that critical value, we need the chi-squared table value. So we already have chi-squared table value from there. Okay. And then we need the N sub I and N sub j's. So sample size for Chevy and Ford first, and then second row is Chevy and Honda, and then Honda, and then Ford and Honda. Now with these, we will be able to compute the critical value, and the formula for critical value is, okay, so here is the formula for critical value. So we go square root of the chi-squared table value, which is there, okay, and then multiplied by square root of, okay, so we now going to use P sub I, P sub j, N sub I, N sub j. So the first one is P sub I, P bar sub I actually, 1 minus P bar sub I, okay, divided by N sub I. So that's the first part, plus the second part, P sub j times 1 minus P sub j divided by N sub j. So now we need that. Okay, so that's our critical value for the first pair. Now there is one thing we need to do is to make sure that chi-square table value B51 always comes from B51, so that should be absolute referenced. Okay, otherwise B51 will change to B52 and it will give you an error. So now copy that and you get the 3 critical values. And now we can compare the 3 critical values with the absolute value of the difference in the piece, and then we can have the conclusions. So the first one would be, well, we can set up a formula for that. So that would be the if formula. So you say if, okay, now the absolute value of the difference is greater than the critical value. Then you say the difference is significant, so let's call it significant. Okay, put that in quotation marks. Okay, otherwise we'll just put a hyphen to indicate it is not. So here is an if function, and we can use that. And then you see the first difference is not significant. The second is, the third is not. So there is a difference between Chevy and Honda, but there are no other differences.